course, you win. New red zone.
Yeah, what we wanted to do was try to have Pat Carroll set a pick and pop, and it worked to perfection, and he hit the shot, and at that point we're saying to ourselves, just get one stop here, and, you know, we're going.
And then now on the other end, DJ, you're courtside watching this, right?
Yeah, just to the right of the picture. And that switch that was just made there, we preached that all game long. We're playing 4 small, so they set a ball screen, just switch it, so Tyrone's in perfect position, and right here, that stumble right there, and that's what. And Tyrone, you know, Pat had Tyrone's back, and Tyrone had Pat's back.
Unreal. Look how close. And then now, here comes Jameer, and no timeout call. We'll get to that in a moment. And Jameer does his best to get a shot off. Looked like he was attempting to fake the dribble, fake the drive, pull up, and go for the jumper. Hit the front, just picked the front of the rim.
Right, and that's a shot that he's made for us how many times this year. He made it against California. He made it against Texas Tech late in the game. So he's made that shot, and you know, it just didn't go in that night.
And for folks who are saying, why not call a timeout? 6.9 seconds left when Lucas's shot went through. That's a philosophy, correct?
Well, I'll be honest with you. For 4 years, we've given the ball to Jameer in that situation and said, look, go make a play for us. And I'm pretty confident, and you know, he's going to make the right play. He made the right play there. You know, what are we going to do? Call a timeout and say, give it back to Jameer and say, okay, now go make a play? No, he already had the ball. Now, if someone else had the ball, maybe we call a timeout and try to get it in his hands.
Yeah, plus what people fail to realize is Jameer Nelson's the best guy with creator with the ball in the country. No question about it. Now, also, if you're going to call a timeout, you're giving Eddie Sutton, who's a pretty good coach, a chance to set up a defense. You know, I have absolutely no problem. When we were watching the game, as soon as it went through and he inbounded the ball, I said, Phil might get some. I said, I agree with Phil. My first words, I agree with this move, but he'll get some. I agree with just letting Jameer go and create. And we've all seen him play. How many times did he hit that fadeaway all year long? All career.
There's 325 schools in Division I that would love to have Jameer Nelson going down the court with the ball and say, here, Jameer, make something happen. And you know,
There were so many things that happened at that end of the game. St. Joseph done such a terrific job confusing Oklahoma State that they had no timeouts. If they had had a timeout, that play never happened. Right, they would have set up a play, and maybe it doesn't work.
Right.
I mean, that's one thing. Then in the end, last year against Auburn, correct me if I'm wrong, but a similar situation at the end of regulation where Daniels hit a 3, and you did call a timeout in that situation, if I remember correctly. Gave the ball to Jameer 4.5 seconds. He got end-to-end, got fouled with a half a second left, and he made the 2 biggest free throws I've ever seen anybody make, ever. There's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just in this case, I looked over at Phil just as Jameer did, and he just gave him away.
Right, and I think that's the luxury that we have of having to play a year of college basketball where we say, look, you know, you're going to make the right decision for us all the time. You've been doing it for 4 years, so go ahead and make the right decision. And he made the right decision.
And it looked like he wanted to get right down, to get to the rim. When he saw he couldn't do that, he broke back into the middle. The only thing I would say in retrospect, and I think you all said this, that maybe if he just pulls up and shoots it.
And actually, when he was dribbling the ball down, that's what I thought he was going to do. I thought he was going to pull up.
It looked like he was going to get a clear shot.
Absolutely. And the guy was backing up a little bit, but, you know, I'll never second guess Jameer Nelson.
Because he's smart enough to know time and score. He knows you only need 2 and to keep the game alive. And I know that's what he was thinking.
And he knows his body, too. If he's feeling a little worn down and tired, maybe he saw, look, I can't hit this from 19-9. Let me try to get into 15 or 16. And that's what
we all know how much he put out. And, you know, I think everybody was wearing down a little bit. Again, that's just the IQ that he has. Let me get closer.
Of course, the nation saw your reaction bench side, and you were hoping against hope that maybe that would turn out other than. And of course, we've got that. And you get so caught up in the game that there you go. It's a.
I didn't realize
you fell over.
Yeah, I fell over John, and those guys. Luckily, they helped me up.
That when Lucas made the shot.
That was when Lucas made the shot, because I was sort of like, I don't know what I was trying to do.
Body English.
Let that shot stay out, but I see that didn't work.
And defensively, when you look at, and we slow-mode this, you talk about baseball being a game of inches, this was a game of inches. Look at the 2 plays, Pat Carroll, and then the run that Tyrone Barley had on Lucas, and you right there.
Wow.
Okay, Pat Carroll, just an inch, and we've got another look, too, that is a low-angle look, which shows...
And Tyrone's not far from getting this either.
No, Tyrone was right on it, and unfortunately for St. Joseph, unreal.
I tell you, I hadn't seen it in slow motion like that.
Look at Pat Carroll right here.
Wow.
Looks like he touched the ball.
Wow.
Yeah, now look how close Tyrone's already running at John Lucas.
He knew somebody had to be open.
And he just if he just gets a fingernail on it. I'm thinking, it looked like maybe he didn't have a lot of rotation on that ball. I know it's slow-mo, but it nestles in the net. I keep hoping that each time, maybe it's just going to clank off.
I'll tell you what, but just watching that, that's a great sign of this team that we've had great times this year of each guy right there, they had each other's back, and that's what we've been preaching to these guys. Make sure you have each other's back, and right there, Pat had Tyrone's back, diving for the ball, and when he didn't get it, Tyrone slid right over and had Pat's back to try to get a deflection on Lucas's shot.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those what-if games, but for what you all did, you can't even be concerned about that. But the first half, I mean, they won the first half by 15 points, but it just didn't show up on the scoreboard because they had every shot they wanted in that half. Yeah. They had no, really, Oklahoma State was clueless.
That was one of the things that we were concerned about, Dick, as you know, going into the game, is the quality of shot that we were going to be able to get. And I think, boy, if you had told us that we were going to get that quality of shot, you know, I think, like you're right, you know, we should have probably been up maybe 12 or 15 points at the half.
3 out of 15 from 3, and 6 out of 15, which is 40%, which is about your normal. You're up 15. Yep. And you could have made more, and Pat had some bad luck. I mean, his balls were right there. And they just didn't go in.
The great thing about watching that game, though, was that one team would hit, you know? And you think, oh, now, okay, Okie State's up by 6. And then St. Joe comes back. Now they're up by 4. Well, how's Okie State going to come back? Right, and I mean, that must have happened, what, 5 or 6 times?
A lot of lead changes in the second half. Yeah, it was fun. And they get up. They were actually up 550, 550 with the ball. Yeah. So this is a problem. And the next thing you know, they don't make a field goal for 5 minutes.
And it's funny, I said to Matt Grady, I sat down one time, and I said, wow, this is a heck of a game, huh? Right in the middle of the game. And you get caught up into it, but I realized on the sideline that, wow, these are two teams really battling it out in the
I mean, many coaches would not be able to appreciate that in the midst of all, and that's what makes the sport, what you do, so much fun. What about that 14-2 run? They started off in the second half, and some are thinking, why not take a timeout then, try to staunch the flow right there? Do you think maybe you might rethink that?
Well, you know, we have such a veteran team. We have a veteran team that knows, you know, what they need to do in certain situations. And, you know, basketball is always a game of runs. You know, we're going to have our run, they're going to have their run. And, you know, even to start the game off, although it was a run, it was only a 4-0 run for them, but when we got those 4 points to tie the game up, it was like, wow, we scored 10 points in a row because we just thought points were going to be so hard to come by because they're such a good defensive team. So, you know, in the midst of a game, there's going to be runs, there's going to be ebbs and flow. And, you know, we just decided to go ahead, let the team, and they did a good job of responding to it without the timeout.
They scored the first 8, and it was coming up on a TV timeout, and I've watched these guys long enough that they know that, and they don't panic. And to me, when a coach does that at the beginning of the second half, that's a sign of panic to your team a little bit. So I think they were saying to their team, we believe in you, just keep playing. Eventually, it got a little uglier until it went a couple of minutes or so later, but it was a 4-point game at that point. Yeah, I didn't think that was relevant to the outcome of the game one way or another.
I think one of the greatest things that you guys did this year as coaches was so many times you have systems. Coaches will have systems and they'll stick with it no matter their personnel. You know, traveling around and talking to people and they'll say, oh, St. Joe's a 3-point shooting team. You guys put in such a great system with great outside shooters and you got open shots all year long. You know, I would say to people, like, yeah, you'll see, though. Watch the game and watch how open they are on all their three-pointers. You know, and was that a system that you guys implemented a couple years ago, just knowing that you had a Carroll, that you had a Jameer, that you had great outside shooters?
Well, you know, what we try to do every year as coaches is we try to study the makeup of our team. And then from that point on, we try to put in a system that's going to fit the players. We're not, you know, we're not bullheaded enough to say, okay, well, we have this type of system, and this is going to work for every single team that we have. No, we look at the makeup of our team, who we have coming back, and we try to fit, you know, those players into a specific system so we can maximize that team on that given year.
And I think that's what was the problem in Montana, and I've certainly talked about this, why a lot of people didn't understand this team, because it was different. They figured out, all right, what do we have here? What are we going to do? We're not going to run a motion game. We're not obviously throwing the ball into the low post very much. We're going to use our personnel to their best advantage. And because it was different than what people are used to, they didn't understand how good it was. And, you know, those of us who got a chance to watch it.
Something that we have never used in the past, but it was something that we looked at. Look, this is a way to get a mismatch against the other team, and it's a way for us to put some more points up on the board and make the other team say, okay, well, what do we do? How do we guard it? And I think we had some success.
And they got many open shots because they have two great penetrators. There's very few teams anywhere that have two guys that you've got to guard all the way down to the rim in West and Nelson, and they're such good passers. You know, if you're open and all their guys keep moving, you're going to get the ball.
That's what gets lost in Delante's game a lot. He's such a great passer and a finder of, you know, once he gets in the lane, he can kick it out, or, you know, he can, you know, finish himself if you leave him alone. So, you know, that's what gets lost in his game. Like you said, we had such great penetrators, and those guys are terrific of, sharing the basketball when people collapse on them.
Yeah, here's an email from Scott in Cherry Hill. 6 months ago, you say to Phil in St. Joe's, you will lose 2 games to get to the Elite Eight. What will you say? I'll take that, right?
Or say you were crazy.
Yeah, right.
When you get to that moment, it's 10 years from now, if you sit him down, but when you're there and you're one shot away from going to the ultimate stage in college basketball, like Monte said, you don't know how many of those times you're going to get.
And that's probably the hardest part, because you don't know if you'll ever get that opportunity again.
Yeah. When did you realize what you had? Because you hear Delonte and Jameer talk about it, and they were talking in training camp, summer workouts, etc. You know what? We got a shot here. When did you think that you had that kind of team?
I'll be honest with you. Last year we thought that if Delonte didn't get hurt, and we never used it as a crutch or as an excuse, but we thought if Delonte didn't get hurt, and we watched how the tournament progressed, the teams that were in our bracket, we said, wow, we could have made a little bit of a run. So, immediately after that game, I said, wow, I know it's selfish, but I said to myself, I'd like to see Jameer come back just to see how far we could take this thing and, how good are we. Then once this year started unfolding and it was like a snowball rolling downhill, it just got to be, we started playing with so much confidence that, I think the guys, didn't think that we could lose. Yeah. And that's a great type of confidence to have, in a basketball game.
Your seniors, 7 NCAA games, and you can make a case they could have won all 7 of them. The Stanford game when Jameer and Tyrone were freshmen was a great game that they could have won. Obviously, the Auburn game with Delonte and Tyrone also, who tore his meniscus in that game. They not get hurt. You win that game for sure. And obviously, you could have won Saturday. So this group, in that
unbelievable. And that's one thing that Matt said after the game, like, CBS would try to invite us to the tournament every year. So every loss that we've had has been great games in the tournament.
They lost this year to a team that almost beat Duke yesterday. And a team that's playing and has a chance and is like won the Big 8 regular season, postseason. I mean,
2 of the last 5 teams playing are their 2 losses. So, I mean, that just shows you what a great season.
Let me get Phil Martelli's take. This is today on the last 29 seconds, the high and the low of the whole thing. Phil Martelli.
The reaction has been overwhelming. I've been to church, I've been to the doctor, stopping for gas. To know how deeply people have been touched by this and the way this team performed and what they did, even in the midst of you think you have a handle on it, but the handle, I had no concept of it. I had people in tears as I left church yesterday, and because they were in tears and I became in tears, doctor's office today, same kind of thing, bank. I was at the bank, and I haven't been out and about much on campus, but the reaction has absolutely overwhelmed me.
And overwhelmed all of us. We'll take a quick timeout. That's Coach Today on dealing with the loss. 2 days later, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More ahead with the gang and Monte Ross on this fantastic St. Joseph's season.
Daily News Live, brought to you by your Philadelphia area Nextel 5-star dealers, including ATS Wireless.
Get connected with Nextel's Nationwide Direct Connect, the first nationwide walkie-talkie. Get clear, coast-to-coast, instant contact with over 12 million customers anywhere in the United States. Every Nextel phone comes with our walkie-talkie feature right out of the box for just a fraction of the cost of cellular without using cellular minutes. With Direct Connect, avoid missed calls, voicemails, and busy signals. Visit one of Nextel's preferred partners, the area's largest authorized dealer, offering superior expertise on the perfect wireless solution. Nextel. Done.
Right now through March 31st, visit your Chevy dealer for the Sign and Drive event and take advantage of 0 down payment, 0 due at signing, and 0 security deposit on most Chevy vehicles. Now qualified lessees can lease a Silverado 2-wheel drive regular cab work truck for around